Hello, friends and clients of Walker Gates Villa. I am Jennifer Walker Gates, immigration attorney, coming to you today with a video on the ever popular question, why is my case taking so long? Why is my case taking so long? This is the question we get more than any other from our clients. Why is my case taking so long, or how long is it going to take? How much longer? It matters so much because having immigration status legalized and finalized in the United States is a key to so many other opportunities. Traveling to see family and loved ones, working lawfully, and feeling safe and secure and steady with your family together in the United States. All of that hinges on lawful immigration status. So of course, if people want to be able to plan goals and set ideas in motion and just live life, you need to be able to know when your case is going to conclude. So before we get into the meat of this topic, I want you to hit subscribe. We have weekly updates at least every week. We publish a video. You may be hearing my cat meowing out there. I'm sorry if you do. But please hit subscribe. Don't miss our updates. Follow us on YouTube and Facebook. We publish information regularly, whether you're a client or not. We want to make sure every immigrant to the United States has reliable, high quality information about how to deal with their immigration case. So once you hit subscribe, then we can get into the substance of this topic. And I have a few slides that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So there is a really long, complicated answer to this question. Why is my case taking so long, or how much longer is it going to take? There are so many factors that influence the amount of time that a case takes. And one of the main factors is that your case may be touched by a number of different agencies, federal agencies and bureaucracies, as it progresses through the immigration system. Those agencies may be the Department of Homeland Security, Department of State, or Department of Justice. So let's talk a little bit about what is Department of Homeland Security and what does it entail. Well, Department of Homeland Security is the main agency for immigration cases, but it has three sub-agencies. The three sub-agencies of Department of Homeland Security, or DHS, are U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, Customs and Border Patrol, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Now, the main one that deals with immigrants who are trying to get legal status is U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. The other two agencies are much more about enforcement and removing people and removing contraband from our borders. So USCIS is the agency that we most deal with for our clients. If you have submitted any application that begins with the letter I or N to immigration, those are going to be handled by USCIS. Okay, so the list of cases that USCIS tends to handle include too many for us to include all of them in this video, but the primary ones for our clients include I-129F petitions for fiancés, I-130 petitions for family members, spouses, children, parents, siblings of U.S. citizens, I-485 application for adjustment of status. That's an application for a green card. I-821D is an application for DACA. I-765, that's the application for work authorization. I-601A and I-601 are applications for waivers of inadmissibility. All of these different types of applications. Oh, and let's not forget the extremely important I-589, which is application for asylum in the United States for individuals who are not in immigration court proceedings. Their I-589s go directly to USCIS, and USCIS adjudicates those applications, and whether they approve the application or do not approve it, anyone who's not in removal proceedings when they get to the United States has to file their I-589 with USCIS. Then USCIS also handles applications that begin with N for naturalization. So N400, N565, and N600, all of those different types of N applications also go to USCIS. Now, the processing times vary for all of these different types of applications, and USCIS does publish their processing times. So let's take a look at the published processing times page on uscis.gov. Now, if you go to this link, egov.uscis.gov/processing-times, you can look at all of these different types of applications and see what the processing times look like at different service centers, okay? So one of the factors influencing the amount of time it takes is what type of application is it? And then another really important factor over which you have no control when you submit your application is which service center is handling my application. Okay, USCIS is a huge bureaucracy with many, many offices across the United States. Some of those offices are for taking fingerprints. Some of those offices are for having appointments. Some of those offices are for simply receiving mail and then distributing it out to other offices. And then some of those offices are just for processing applications. And you don't know when you submit exactly which one of these offices your packet's going to end up in. They make those determinations all the time based on their workload capacity and what makes sense to them at the time. So we send in applications from Texas for our clients. That doesn't necessarily mean they're always going to be at the Texas Service Center. USCIS may collect the application at a mailbox in Chicago with a huge warehouse where different employees categorize different types of applications and send it. It may get sent to California. It may get sent to Vermont. It may get sent to Iowa. It may get sent to any number of different service centers. So let's take, for example, the I-129F petition for a fiance, and let's see what it looks like at Texas Service Center. That's where the ones for our clients we hope would go, and they generally sometimes go there. So let's take a look at what Texas is saying. Okay, good. So Texas is showing that for I-129F, well, they're only processing those for individuals who are actually already married. So if you're filing for a straight fiance, it's not going to go to Texas Service Center. But at Texas Service Center, the I-129F for a spouse is 4.5 to 7 months, okay? So that's not too bad, but again, those are only for married people. So let's see what California Service Center says about I-129F. Okay, so they are processing I-129F for K1, K2, not yet married, as well as K3, K4, and saying it takes 6 to 8 months. That seems pretty reasonable for USCIS. Now, let's go to Potomac Service Center. And Potomac Service Center, again, 4 to 7 months for K3, K4. All right, so I-129F, not too bad. Now, let's take a look at I-130, petition for alien relative. This is, and I hate that word alien, by the way. I wish they would take it off. They've said they're going to, but it's still there for now. So, but the I-130 petition for an immigrant family member is the first step in so many family immigration cases. It's it's much more abundantly used than the I-129F. So let's look at California Service Center's processing times for the I-130. Okay, so here's where we start to see issues. For a permanent resident filing for a spouse or child under 21 years of age, the I-130 at California takes 24 and a half to 32 months for them to process. If it's a U.S. citizen filing for an unmarried son or daughter over 21, now remember, the people who are over 21 are going to be in the preference system, so then we have visa backlogs for those people as well, so they're going to be taking longer to be able to apply for their residency too. But those petitions are taking 39.5 to 51 months. And then a U.S. citizen filing for a married son or daughter over 21, 107 months to 139 months. Receipt date for a case inquiry, February 24th of 2010. So more than 11 years that it's taking them to process an I-130 for that category of relative. That's a really long time for USCIS to have your case and for you to be wondering what is happening. Is something wrong, or is everything okay with my case? There are certain types of applications that USCIS is processing where they do not publish any processing times. For example, you'll notice in here that the I-589 is not listed. I-589 is the application for asylum, withholding of removal, or protection under the Convention Against Torture. So an individual who is in the United States who needs protection from being returned to their home country has to file Form I-589 with USCIS. However, the publishing times will not be listed on their website, and those cases are taking many, many years in many instances. So we have clients, for example, who have been waiting more than 5 years for an interview, and their cases remain pending with USCIS. Now, there is a page on USCIS's website where they talk about affirmative asylum interview scheduling. However, this is not published processing times. This is a bunch of gobbledygook about how they prioritize applications, and basically they're saying that the longer your application has been pending, the longer it will be pending, because they're treating asylum applications now in kind of reverse chronological order. So somebody who shows up and applies right now for asylum is more likely to get their interview and get their case processed quickly than somebody who has been waiting since 5, 6, 7 years ago. They're prioritizing new applications, according to this website, to deter people from filing fraudulent applications, taking advantage of these backlogs just to get employment authorization. Meanwhile, thousands and thousands and thousands of individuals who need asylum, who need their cases processed, are waiting years and years for USCIS to adjudicate their cases. So that is another reason cases are taking as long as they are. Now, if you have a case before the Department of State, let's go back to our slides. Department of State handles the DS applications. So if you have filed a Form DS-160 or a DS-260 in your case, DS stands for Department of State, and they handle applications for temporary visas, meaning non-immigrant visas, which are permission to enter the United States for a particular period of time, but is temporary. And then immigrant visas is the Department of State term for green card or residency. So many individuals are applying for residency through the Department of State at U.S. consulates outside the United States, okay? So the processing times for those applications at consulates outside the United States, again, vary so much depending on what kind of application you're filing. Are you filing for a temporary visa or an immigrant visa, meaning a green card or permanent residency? How is that consulate handling those applications right now? Many non-immigrant visas are not able to get appointments right now because of the pandemic. And many immigrant visas are also waiting many, many more months than normal, which was already a really long time before the pandemic to get one of these appointments. Now they're waiting even longer because Department of State is working with reduced staff. They're trying to keep their employees safe, which is totally understandable. And they're also inefficient and disorganized in many cases. Not always, but in many cases, the customer service is really not good at the U.S. consulates. I'm ashamed to admit it. I wish that it were a higher priority for many of them, but unfortunately, many of my clients and other immigrants that I meet explain to me what their experiences were like dealing with the U.S. consulates. Not good. So again, appointment times and processing times for Department of State cases not published. Right now, we are getting interviews scheduled for some of our clients whose cases have been complete at the U.S. consulates and waiting for more than 2 years. So it is taking an extra long time for Department of State to process their cases as well. Now, Department of Justice handles all immigration court cases. They also handle immigration court appeals. They are in charge of Executive Office for Immigration Review, or EOIR, which is the immigration court system. They're also in charge of overseeing the Board of Immigration Appeals, or BIA, and that is who handles immigration court appeals. If you are applying for a benefit in front of the immigration court, it might be cancellation of removal. It might be asylum. Again, if your case is not approved at USCIS, you will get a second chance to file your application in front of the immigration court and ask for asylum in front of the immigration court. So you may have an application for asylum, withholding of removal, or protection under the Convention Against Torture in front of the immigration court. You can also apply for adjustment of status if you qualify, and also temporary protected status in front of the court. There are some other types of benefits that you can request in front of the court, but they're relatively rare. So these are the main ones that we'll discuss. Now, again, the immigration court does not publish processing times. There is a data set of immigration court statistics available through a website that we all refer to as TRAC. TRAC is a project out of Syracuse University that gathers data and publishes it in an organized fashion and reports on the activities of the immigration court. So TRAC is trac.syr for syracuse.edu/immigration. If you go to that site, you can see a lot of data and information about the immigration courts and how they are responding to their backlogs, how they are handling them, and what their backlogs look like. So what this article says, I'm not going to read this to you guys, but I do encourage you to go and check it out if you have a case in the immigration court and you're wondering why it's taking as long as it is. This article puts it in very clear terms. The Department of Homeland Security is putting more people into deportation proceedings in front of the court than the court has capacity to adjudicate. And that has been happening for many years. As the immigration detention industry has grown in the United States, they have become more and more financially powerful. They lobby very hard for Congress to set aside federal tax dollars to pay them to detain immigrants, and they have detained more and more and more immigrants. When an immigrant is detained in a detention center, they are automatically placed in immigration court proceedings. And so individuals who are not detained generally can't get a hearing. It's very, very hard. It's not impossible. We have seen some actual movement in the cases in the last several months for the first time in years. But because so many individuals are detained, they automatically get their cases treated with priority. Now, mind you, their cases aren't going to move fast enough for them while they're in detention. They're going to be in there for a while. It's going to feel like way too long. But those who are not detained, those who are not actually sitting in detention centers, who have cases in front of the immigration court, have a very hard time getting a hearing. We have dozens of clients at Walker Gates Vella who have not had a hearing since 2013, 2014. So the immigration courts are extremely backlogged, and until there is some kind of major shift in the way that either the immigration courts are funded and there is an additional amount of funding provided to adjudicate the cases that Department of Homeland Security is filing until the immigration court budget looks more along the lines of the detention budget. We're not going to see a change in that. That court system will continue to be backlogged as long as our current policies and setups with respect to immigration detention continue apace. So that brings me now to what can you do about moving your case forward. If you have an immigration case that's like stuck, how can you move it forward? If you have a case in front of USCIS, again, the answer to this question depends on so many factors. So let's go back to USCIS, and let's say you have filed a case in front of USCIS. It's not outside of normal processing times. It's just that processing times are incredibly long, okay? There are very few options that you have, unfortunately. In some very limited instances, premium processing is available for USCIS applications and petitions. Premium processing is a fee, an additional premium that an individual can pay to have their case adjudicated more quickly. That is available for very limited numbers of employment-based cases where businesses need employees very quickly. As we can see, businesses are treated with more urgency in the immigration system in many cases than are families and individuals. So unfortunately, premium processing is not an option for any immigration family case. It's only available in limited numbers of employment-based cases. Now, there is an expedite request process where you can request that USCIS expedite treatment and handling of your case. However, this is only available in extreme emergencies where an expedited treatment of your case would actually remedy the situation. So for example, if you're trying to bring someone into the United States for a funeral and you need to have something finalized and expedited in order for them to be able to attend the funeral, that may be an instance where USCIS will in fact move things along more quickly. If you have an urgent medical, humanitarian, financial, or business need that you can demonstrate, you may be able to get USCIS to adjudicate the case under expedited processing. However, again, very hard, usually involves life and death or extreme financial need on behalf of a business. Most of those requests are denied. Finally, there's federal litigation. Now, federal litigation involves filing a lawsuit in a federal court against USCIS for undue delay in processing your case. Whether or not this is going to be a good strategy for you is completely individualized and case dependent. So it's very important before you assume that this will work that you have a really thorough analysis done by a trusted attorney, and you have to be ready to pay quite a bit of money, unfortunately, because finding an immigration attorney licensed in federal court who is experienced enough and comfortable enough to file a federal lawsuit is not easy. And those attorneys do spend an enormous number of hours preparing and filing those cases. So very limited options, unfortunately, when your case is not outside processing times. Now, if your case is outside processing times, you can call USCIS. Their 1-800 service number is on their website. You can also submit an electronic inquiry via their website about your case and indicate that it is outside of processing times. In my experience recently, those kinds of inquiries and calls actually do get movement and get attention of USCIS if the case has fallen outside of processing times that are published on their website. But again, if they don't publish the processing times or you can't find it for some reason, then that can be also a very difficult tack to take. If you actually think that your case is outside processing times, but your inquiries and calls are not getting results, that's when it's time to have a lawyer help you contact them and threaten a lawsuit. Next, if you have a Department of State case, where you have been ignored, you know that your case is taking longer than it should, there's some kind of administrative processing delay that is carrying on far beyond what could be considered reasonable, then federal litigation, again, is pretty much your only option. You have to file a lawsuit against the Department of State. And that is big and scary and intimidating, but it definitely works when it is handled properly and when the circumstances are right. So again, if you have that situation, definitely encourage you, get in touch with us. Even if we don't take your case, we have colleagues who are happy to refer to, who handle lawsuits against the Department of State for undue delays in administrative processing and other types of issues. Finally, with EOIR, your options are again extremely limited, but not impossible. There is a motion, a request that you can file with the court for a motion to advance your hearing. If your hearing has been set out years in the future and you don't think that your case is going to be approvable anymore once you reach that date, sometimes maybe one of your relatives is going to turn 21 and they won't qualify for you anymore to serve as your qualifying relative for your case, or something else may have happened that has meant that you need your case adjudicated sooner, you can file a motion to advance your hearing. Again, no guarantee that that will work. We've seen lots of those denied, but it is really a good idea to submit those motions, because in certain cases it can create some protections and rights for you even if the motion isn't approved. So if you have a case in front of the court and you're concerned about how long it's taking, talk to your attorney about filing a motion to advance the hearing. And then, like I said before, if you are in detention, your case is going to move much more expeditiously than if you're outside of detention. Now, that is hardly reassuring, but there have actually been certain cases where, as a matter of strategy, our clients agreed to remain in detention so that their cases could be finalized in a reasonable time frame, rather than leaving detention and having it drag on for years and years and years. So it's, again, an important strategic decision to make on an individual basis. I hope that this has helped. I know this is a lot of information and mostly bad news, but knowledge is power, and I hope that this has helped clarify some information for you. We at Walker Gates Vela have become quite experienced at helping clients move their cases forward, get their cases unstuck at USCIS, at Department of State, and in the immigration courts. So if that is something that we can help with, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can find us at walkergatesvela.com. If you go to our website, you will find there our phone number, as well as a button that you can simply click to get onto our calendars for a consultation. Once you meet with us, we'll be able to kind of look at your case, your individual circumstances, and help make a determination with you about whether it is in your best interest on balance to make, begin to rattle some cages and make noise about how long your case is taking. So I hope that this has helped. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Stay safe, stay well, and take good care. We'll see you again soon. Don't forget to hit subscribe.